Okay, I would like to say good afternoon, and I think you're going to find this panel very interesting. We wanted to bring you some information that we think is very relevant for the time that we're living in right now, and to provide you a perspective and information that will help you understand some of the challenges that families are facing throughout the country, and in particular right here in Austin. We know that when we had the pandemic, one of the things that happened is that we started to experience very high inflation. And one of the things we were told then, it was because of the logistics, because of the cost of fuel, that it affected the prices of food. And, we were thinking that a lot of these things might be temporary. But as you know, if you go to the grocery store to buy groceries over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen a continued increase in the cost of food. And you pair that with rising costs of housing and everything else that we have to buy in today's economy. You can see how, with those inflationary pressures, how it would affect families, young families, families with children. And so the information that we're bringing you today on this panel, we have the benefit of having a program that the city started, and it has been a program that has demonstrated to us how families can benefit by having additional funding available to them. So without further ado, I'm going to allow our panelists to each introduce themselves. This is the Family Stabilization Panel, Family Stabilization Grant Panel. I'm going to turn it over to Amanda Hasso, who is in our Equity Department, because they were the department that provided oversight to this Family Stabilization Grant. And then Amanda, if you would introduce yourselves and then the other panelists.
Hey everyone, thanks for sticking with us. My name is Amanda Hasso. My pronouns are she, her, and I am an Equity and Inclusion Program Manager at the City of Austin's Equity Office.
Okay. I don't need the mic. Oh, nice. I don't need the mic. Hi everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, perfect. My name is Ivana Neri. Excited to be here today. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am with Up Together.
Would you tell us what Up Together is, please?
Yeah, so we Up Together, nonprofit organization. We've been around since 2001, and really the main purpose and goal of the work that we do is to trust and invest in communities. So we've been doing that for more than 20 years, and what that means is that we make direct cash payments to families that are unrestricted, and also provide people with a community platform where they can strengthen their social networks and being able to, through the investments and through the community networks and resources, they are able to accelerate their economic and social mobility.
Okay.
I am Stephanie Hendon. I am a participant of the grant program of Up Together, and I am pleased to be here. Thank you, everyone, for having me.
Thank you. So, Amanda, would you provide us a frame of reference of the program and a little bit of information about the program, why the city got involved in doing this?
Yeah, definitely. So first, we're really excited that the Equity Office is able to manage this program, and we're thankful that it was funded a couple years ago, and that it is funded this year again in our city's budget. So we recognized really quickly early on in the pandemic that there's a disproportionate impact on communities of color, low-income folks, and we didn't really have a mechanism yet to deploy funds with low barriers and very quickly. And so we worked with our public health department to deploy $2 million, which we did when we're able to do because we had really strong relationships with community-based organizations and grassroots community organizations in Austin. And we were able to get that money out within 72 hours. And that was successful because this was a strength-based approach, right? We were allowed to be creative and innovative during the pandemic, and people used the money in the way that was best for them. And our mayor at the time was part of this cohort of mayors across the nation, mayors for a guaranteed income, and kind of wanted to be a champion of a program like this with direct cash investments in communities. And so we advocated, well, the community advocated for this program, and it was funded. And in 2022, we were able to launch the program. It's a year-long program, and 135 families were able to receive $1,000 a month for 12 months. And the impact was, I mean, Stephanie will share with you, but 100% of families used this money for covering basic needs. So rent, mortgages, clothing, food. Over half of the participants were able to pay down 75% of their debt. And a third of those participants were able to pay off all of their debt. So the impacts were huge, and we're kind of relaunching this program there's funding to relaunch this program this year. And this will actually be on City Council agenda tomorrow to kind of establish a contract so that we can roll this program out. But I'll also pass it to Ivana if she wants to say anything about the program itself.
Yeah, so we started doing work here in Austin, Texas in 2018. And at the beginning, when we were having conversations with people, doing presentations, the response that we would get is that this was such a radical idea, that this idea of trusting and just providing people with investments wasn't gonna go well in Texas. And that they didn't foresee a state like Texas really investing resources from government into something like this. Well, it took us like a couple years really for government especially to adopt this idea, but we did it. And the reason why it happened was because of the urgency that we had to respond to something like COVID, but also because there were a lot of community organizers on the ground really pushing the city to think through a different way of creating policy and investing in communities. So through that, we did, prior to COVID, we actually were able to deploy close to $2 million to communities in Austin. And then we already had set up a system to invest more in people. So when COVID came, we were already equipped to make investments. So that's how we were able to quickly deploy the $2 million from the equity office. And then eventually it grew to be another $10 million from the Austin Public Health Department. And then through that, we, up until now, across the state of Texas, because Austin had a ripple effect, that as they were doing it, then City of San Antonio also wanted to do it. And then City of El Paso also wanted to do it, the county. And then multiple cities were really joining this movement at the point that alone, as an organization, we have distributed $44 million across the state. In Central Texas alone, we've done more than $18 million.
It's amazing. So we're going to turn now to Stephanie, who was a participant in the program, and she's going to give us a firsthand recount of how she experienced the program and the impact that it had on her and her family.
Okay, I think my mic is okay. Sorry, guys. So initially, I just want to say that I don't know what's going on.
I'll turn off mine. Maybe that's.
Okay. There we go. Initially, I just want to say that I am really grateful for this program because, like they were saying, this program, it really gave me the opportunity or assisted me with the opportunity to provide for my family. My family is me, my husband, and 4 children, so we're a 6-member family. Just a background of us, we've been here in Texas for a couple of years now. We relocated from Michigan, and we came down with family. However, it didn't go as planned with family, and me and my family, my husband, my children, we fell on hard times. We found ourselves in and hotels. We were supposed to be staying with family, but again, stuff happened. So we were in hotels. We came down. We had money. You know, we had the plan. We had everything, the relocation process. You know, we wanted to, you know, just come and live a better life here, you know, in Texas after research and schooling and everything. However, to speed it up, we get here now. We're, you know, in the motels and the hotels, and money is running thin. I'm just like scrolling through Facebook, just like looking for some inspiration, looking through something, you know. And I find this organization, I believe it's like What's in the Mirror or something. I'm not sure of it. The founder of it is Tariq Daniels. So I reached out to him because it's like a mental health program. It helps, you know, people through hard times and everything. So he told me about Up Together. So I looked up Together. I said, okay, I'm going to apply. You know, I'm just getting here. I don't really know what's going on. So at this time, I have like a couple of days like left in the hotel that we're living in. But the money is going faster than I'm bringing it in. I get a job the first week I get here. So, you know, I have the money that I came here, that I saved, that's running out. And then I have a job. However, living in a hotel, being homeless here in Texas is rough. You know, you have to buy food, you have to, you know, get a cooler, you have to, you know, make sure you have blankets, you have to make sure you have money for laundry, you have to make sure you have, you know, gas or, you know, just whatever type of money you need to get transportation around, which is kind of difficult here in Texas, public transportation in itself. So I applied, and Up Together, they replied like, you know, really fast. I want to say within like 48 hours, I turned in all my information. You know, I did everything I was supposed to do. I sent in my proofs and everything. By this time, we get approved to go into a shelter, a family shelter at this time, because we were completely out of savings. We were completely out of money. The job that I had, that I retained, it didn't start yet. I had a long start date. So now we're in the shelter. My children, they have like holes in their shoes, holes in their clothes. They're not really eating for real. Like the shelter we're in, they supply food, but you know, it's they supply it the way that they supply it. So, you know, we were in need and we needed more food. We needed more things, you know, and with 4 children, 2 of my children are special needs. My husband, when we got married, so I was the stay-at-home wife. My husband, he worked. However, during COVID, he lost 4 family members, and it affected his mindset, and it changed him. He left the workforce due to a suicide attempt, and I was in school at the time, so I took out a loan to just come here to Texas. So that's how we ended up here in Texas. We have family here that was supposed to assist us, so it didn't go as planned. Speed back up. We're at the shelter. My children, again, they're special needs. So about a month in, some stuff happened at the shelter. My husband gets put out the shelter due to a misunderstanding. He's homeless. He's living outside at the bushes, at bus stops. You know, I start my job a week after I get into the shelter. So I have to work 2 weeks to get a check. We have nothing. It's just us. It's just us 6 are in the shelter. You know, my husband's, he's outside. He's like, just staying there. I'm out here by myself. Don't worry about it. Obviously, I was still worried. So Up Together, they reached out, and like a week after getting into the shelter. Everything's happening so quick. They sent the deposit. The first thing I did was went and got my children some shoes and some clothes, some underwear, some food. I was able to get a TV in the shelter because there was just no entertainment for them. My children are 4 years old. I have 4 children, so I have a 4-year-old at the time, a 5-year-old, a 7, and an 8-year-old, and then I have my husband and it's myself. So initially, the first benefit, I was able to again get us, the needs that we needed. I was able to get. I apologize if I'm being too TMI, but pads and underwear and toothbrushes and just stuff that we needed that we weren't able to get, and. So within within those 2 weeks, when they sent it, in 2 weeks, I was able to get paid. So now I'm able to save, start saving, because I'm in the shelter. I don't have any rent. I don't have any bills. Before I got here, I was working on my credit. I was in school, so I was already, thank you. I was already moving to, better my life. It's just stuff was happening, and life was life, and I didn't really have a lot of support because the stuff happened with my family. So with my husband not being in the shelter with us, he's still outside. Now I can get him different rooms at the shelter, at motels, because they're like $50 a night. And then I was able to continue to get clothes and shoes and, food monthly, and, just save money so I can eventually get a vehicle. And I was able to get a 2022 Rogue, and that lasted. So now my husband, he's not sleeping outside. He's sleeping in the vehicle, so Up Together assisted and me being able to, save up so I could get a down payment, so I could get a vehicle. Although my husband was outside sleeping at bus stops and everything, he was catching 12 buses a day to get our children back and forth to school, which are honor roll students, by the way. He was... So obtaining that vehicle, it really assisted in his morale. It assisted with him. He was able to sleep more comfortably at night so he can get them back and forth to school. I remember nights, just him being outside. He would call telling me about, him hiding from coyotes, or, getting bit by ants and the mosquitoes, or, taking his shirt off to make a pillow, or, just anything, because he was homeless. The men's shelters, they were full, without children. It's really hard to get any type of assistance, and then he's a man and he's not from here, so it was difficult. However, speed up the process. Now we have the vehicle. I'm still working the job that I was working. He's able to take the children back and forth. He could sleep in the vehicle. Now we're saving up again because now we need a home, because we're still in the shelter, me and the children. So I was able to take 2 months of the Up Together benefits and put together a down payment for an apartment that I was able to get in November of 2022. The down payment was like $2,250, so I saved up 2 months, and then some money from my job as well went into the down payment. I was able to get us air mattresses. I was able to get like a futon. I was able to get food to move in, blankets and comforters, like with the Up Together, because now at this time my job is used for the vehicle that I'm paying for. So my husband is not sleeping outside. So the Up Together is helping me with, the down payment. So now I move in and it's easier to pay my bills, to take the kids to the park, to go, to the library with my children, just to chill and just not worry about, oh, I'm homeless. Oh, where's your dad? Getting noodles and warming them up in, the 7-Eleven gas station so they can eat at night, or being outside trying to get the chalk. I'm grateful because, the grant program allowed me the opportunity to be able to, do such things. However, I'm grateful because, I was able to execute these things with my children, with my family. My children, they really didn't know that we were homeless or we were living in a shelter. You know, I told them we were in an extended stay, and you know, mommy may not be able to cook for a while because I've been cooking for years, and they're giving me a break. You know, and with the proceeds from Up Together, it was they helped me to paint that picture for my children. We were able to get counseling, like we had money and Uber fare to, you know, go to Integral, to get doctors for my children, to get them started with their therapy, my husband with his therapy. We have family therapy now. I was able with Up Together to get and interview clothes, to even go get the interviews, to get a job. With the benefit from Up Together, I was able to just be able to sit and go through Indeed and look at what jobs I wanted instead of just accepting anything, you know, out there just to get a quick buck. Like I was able to get time. Like it wasn't just, you know, financial proceeds. It was the actual time. I took schooling. Like I just finished a semester at school in communications, you know, online, as well as getting a new position. I have a 3-bedroom apartment now because Up Together allowed me to kind of slow down my life so that I can put the pieces in order, so that I can get dental work done for my children, get caps done for them that they didn't have for years, in pain, waking up in the middle of the night, not even having money for the Motrin to get them out of the pain. But Up Together helped me with that for a full year. Like a full year, they didn't badger me, they didn't judge me, they didn't make me feel shame because I needed them. Like so many times I went to get assistance or to get help or tell people like, hey, you know, I'm not a drug addict. Hey, I'm not one of these people. I just need assistance. I just need some help. I'm in school. I have degrees. Like I'm willing to do what I need to do. I just need some help. And Up Together did that for me. They didn't judge me. They didn't make me feel bad. And they're still here 6-7 months after, you know, the program. I'm not even a participant anymore, but they still check on us. They give us podcasts for people like us. We can get together, we can talk to each other, we can listen to podcasts, we can find ways out of the situations that we're in, because they are here assisting us. They do believe in us. They're not judging us. They're not, you know, holding a string over our face and trying to make us dance for anything. Like they're just simply assisting us. And I was able to turn my whole life around for not only me, but 5 other people in my family, my children, my husband. We're still getting therapy. We're still moving forward. It'll be a year. Thank you. It'll be a year that I have my current position as a retention specialist. It'll be a year since I've had my 3-bedroom apartment in a nice area for my family. Like it'll be 2 years that we've been here. It'll be a year that we've been consistently getting therapy. All my children have their teeth fixed now. They have glasses now, like comfortable clothes, shoes, bedding, food. We're not hungry. We're not getting bit up by ants. And if it wasn't for Up Together and the resources there, like I really don't know if I even still be here in Texas as productive as I am now, honestly. So
What the eligibility criteria is for the program and who can participate?
Yeah, definitely. First, man, thank you, Stephanie, for sharing all of that, because I think that's one of the things about some programs where we expect people to have to sell themselves to get access to resources. And so I'm just really appreciative of you showing up and being here with us. And I think, you know, Brian Oakes, our first chief equity officer at the city of Austin, was really an early adopter of this program. He really believed in this like strength-based approach and the dignity and choice that we so often don't get with a lot of our social service programs. And I'm not saying they're bad. I just think this is an option and a program that really allows for that flexibility and choice, and really putting our trust into families to do what they need to do to take care of themselves. And so the eligibility criteria for us, it was really important that this was as low barrier as possible, but we did want to make sure our focus populations were getting access. So we did focus, even it wasn't part of the eligibility criteria, but we did want to focus on the Eastern Crescent in Austin. We did want to focus on communities of color, but some of the eligibility criteria was like having a household income at or below 60% MFI, and meeting some of the following, at least one of these following ones of having a filed eviction or getting notice from your landlord that are threat to evict, and being behind on rent for 2 or more months. At this time, folks weren't being taken to court, but people were still getting evicted because this was during COVID. And then we also wanted to focus on folks who are also perhaps trying to move from homelessness into permanent supportive housing. So that was some of it, and our upcoming program will be pretty similar with eligibility criteria, but we're also going to be focusing on childcare, workforce development, so and underemployment, that we know a lot of our families are dealing with anyways. And but we're trying to be explicit about that. And maybe if Ivana, I don't know if there's anything.
No, thank you. I think the first one is just acknowledging Stephanie's story as a story of resilience. And that oftentimes as a city, we put that as, something, a goal that we want to achieve. And I think that story is unique. And at the same time, there are so many stories that we hear all the time from people who are trying to get ahead. And we, as policymakers and people who work in the city, we think that the problem is the people and not necessarily the system that we live in. And just as an example is the cliff effect. So the cliff effect is as someone is trying to work hard to be able to move ahead, the day that they are able to earn an extra dollar, that's the day that the system actually penalizes them because of that hard work that they're putting. So that put them back into where they were, not because of their poor decision making, but because the system is set up not to support people who live in poverty. So as we think about, these questions, because we get these questions all the time, why is it you trust people? How do you know people are doing the right thing? How do you know people don't need coaching? What about how they manage their money? And the reality is that, as Stephanie is saying, she knew what she needed to do, and we didn't really need to do anything. So for us, it is important that we actually move out of the way and let people lead their own ways. So we see this can be the alternative on how we rethink different social programs that I get they are well intended, but yet we have, if you look at the millions of people who live in poverty, the reality is that the percentages haven't changed over time, and we continue putting more money, thinking that will be the solution. We need to rethink and reimagine a new way on how we can invest in people. 2 quick examples that I just want to give is philanthropy alone invests close to $500 billion per year into fighting poverty. So just think about if you were going to put $10,000 in a household, how much money and how much impact that will have if you were making direct investments. So that's one. And then if you think about programs like TANF, which is technically it's meant to be like a cash assistance program, the administrative overhead of having to administer that is about 80%. So only 20% actually goes to people. So for every dollar that gets distributed, 80 cents get into overhead. We, for administering these, we do 10%, and we let the people actually decide where they can put their money, and the outcomes that we see tend to be the same that you can actually get through TANF if we had a better system set up for that. So those are examples on how, we can have in place, and we do have the ability as the city and policymakers to create good policy that supports initiatives like these. As far as the eligibility criteria, for us, we work those with cities, local governments to be able to design. I think for us, the money has to be unrestricted, it has to be unconditional, and oftentimes I think that's a struggle, right? Because we, again, think that we need to tell people what to do. So we get questions around, well, what if people spend the money on this? What if people do that? And what we find is that two things. I think most people put their money toward basic needs in a unique way that sometimes it's even hard to tell, right? Like she named like 20 things that she was able to do with the money that are so unique on probably how I would have spent the money. So for us, it's not a right path. There is no a wrong answer. Both of them are the right path that are really helping someone move ahead. So with that said, we try to keep it very low barrier and at a point that's easy for people to get access to these, that's easy for people to be able to meet that eligibility criteria. So here in Austin, as Amanda said, we have, they have, of course, to live in Austin. We will be providing for the next Family Stabilization Grant $1,000 over 12 months. And to get to this, we also had to do a whole evaluation with a national evaluator called the Urban Institute to continue proving. And we did it, and at the same time, we questioned and pushed back that thinking about having to evaluate these type of initiatives, because right now there are over 300 studies across the country that are proving the same and the same and the same. So until when do we will have to continue proving that this actually works and that can be an alternative?
Thank you. So, Stephanie, I would like to first commend you for your willingness to be here today. Just the courage you've shown for being able to come and tell your story. And I would just like to know, what is it that about you that gives you that resolve to be able to help other people by telling your story?
So for me, I've never received a lot of help or a lot of assistance from anyone. Also, I don't know, it's like it's just in me to want to see people happy, to want to, see people do better. And if I can do that just by telling my story, I would love to do that because, yes, we're all special, and at the same time, we're no one special. If I can do it, then anyone else can do it too. When I received the resources from Up Together, it made me want to do better because I felt like someone believed in me and someone wanted to give me a chance and someone wanted to help me. Like every so often throughout the grant program, Up Together, they send surveys and they ask you, what are you doing? How far have you come? Reflect on, whatever. Like they ask you questions, like just for your psyche as well, and it makes you feel like, you should be doing something greater, So I guess to answer your question, really just the assistance, and the support that, I receive, it makes me want to give to other people. It makes me want to show people, hey, look at how far your investments, got me, look at how you assisted me. Now I want to help other people. If I could, I would do this, for so many people because, I was able to get so far. And at first you don't think like, oh, an extra $1,000 a month, like that's not going to be much. But when I really saw what I did with the extra a month, I was like, I have to, tell people. I hope I can tell somebody I'm going to do this survey. And then like surveys just kept coming, and then like they were like, hey, do you want to tell someone? And I'm like, well, yeah, I do want to tell someone, because if Tariq wouldn't have told me, I wouldn't even know for myself. So I just want to be able to give the same, opportunity to people when they're in need, give them a little bit of inspiration, let them know, if you change your mindset or, your perception, or get a little bit of extra knowledge, or, however, like you can change your circumstances. A lot of people, they feel stuck, because, of the lack of support, or the lack of resources, or just, people being around, not being seen, not being heard. So, I really enjoy telling my story, letting people know I've literally starved and been hungry and been homeless and been at the bottom with no one giving me anything. And I just kept going and I just kept believing. And you can do it too, and especially, with this program and a lot of other programs, coming to the forefront, like, I just don't want people to give up or feel like, they have to go back or they failed or anything, because that's kind of even worse than being hungry at times. Like,
Well, thank you. I would like to ask Amanda and Ivana, are there only particular times of the year you can get in the program? Or if you know of someone that may be interested, is it only open like at a certain time of the year?
So through the city, it's not on a rolling basis. We do work very closely with about 10 community partners. And so once this is hopefully approved at City Council, we'll be able to kind of work and get with our community partners to kind of start selecting our families based on the eligibility criteria and then being able to roll out the cash assistance. But yeah, Ivana.
Yeah, one of the things that Up Together we've been able to do is to match the efforts from the city through philanthropic support. So for these pilot, and I'm also like, at what point do we stop calling them pilot? We've been doing this for more than 20 years and we continue saying pilot, pilot. But this initiative, we've been able to find an additional funding to fund 64 additional families, so it will be a total of 160, which we hope that through your support and the support from policymakers, we can actually do more money. We know the city has the capability to do more money for these, and we hope that as the support grows and as other things get prioritized, this is one of them, so that more funding can become available. But yes, right now we have funding, or we'll have funding after tomorrow's vote, to be able to invest in 160 households in Austin.
Is there any age restriction or requirement in terms of family size?
Not in terms of family size, but the person applying has to be above 18 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So can seniors apply?
Yes, this is open to.
So you have seniors that are participating in the program now?
Yes, we did have seniors in the pilot. And, we think this is for everyone. We think everyone should get access to these. I think, as Stephanie was saying, her own story, we also see there is a ripple effect in the same community that we live, and how, through these investments, you're seeing how people are helping their neighbors, how the money goes to the local grocery store. So you see a ripple effect everywhere. And the other ripple effect that happens is throughout the state. So as Austin was doing it, as I said, then San Antonio wanted to do it. So I think, Austin has been the champion across the state, and we know they're inspiring other cities or the other municipalities to continue doing so.
Great. So, Amanda, on the administrative side, what challenges did you face with this type of program and getting it to the stage where the city could move forward with it from the time you conceived of it?
I think it can be really challenging for the narrative change or the adoption around this kind of program, where we do turn our kind of trust over to the families that we're working with, because that's not typically how we've done things in our social service world. And so I think kind of telling that story in a different way has been exciting for us, and also challenging, because you get those questions over and over again about, well, what are we getting in return? Why aren't you giving requirements around what people spend their money on, things like that. So I think that has been a challenge. And then I think, on a different level, this has been tried at the state level in court, And so I think those are ongoing issues that we'll continue to have to work with. But again, I think as Ivana was saying, the more people that see the value in this, and the more momentum this program has, I think, we'll reach a tipping point, hopefully, where this is seen more as a norm and not the exception.
Right, right.
Yeah, I think the same. When they ask the question, they oftentimes assume that we're gonna say, "Oh, this person did this thing," and the reality is that we always are gonna be blaming the system because people shouldn't even be in this position in the first place. So we're always gonna put it back in the system, and then I think when it comes to the narrative, I think what's interesting is that the headlines of this type of work are seen as handouts instead of being seen as investments or hand ups for people. And we think like that for people who live in poverty, but when you think about wealthy people, we also have ways on how we incentivize. We call them tax breaks. We have like these other fancy names that we use, but it's typically the same. So imagine a system that will give tax breaks to people who live in low-income situations. They will be in a better place too. So I think we have other forms on how we invest in wealthy people, and not necessarily in a system that's actually rooted in white supremacy that supports those type of investments, and we don't necessarily have something like that for people who live in poverty.
Thank you. You mentioned that Up Together receives philanthropic support as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and whether or not that's something, if somebody's interested in supporting your organization, how they can support Up
Yes.
Together?
Yeah, so we actually, as I said, we were founded in 2001. So for 20 years, the only people that were supporting us financially were philanthropy and individual donors. No dollars from government because this was too radical for government to be able to put money. So after 2020, that's when we started getting contracts, and I would say 2019 contracts from government. And so we welcome any money that anyone wants to donate. Uptogether.org/donate. You can, any money makes a difference. The support that we have from here primarily is from St. David's Foundation, the Austin Community Foundation, and Google Org. And we look to continue growing that philanthropic support as much as possible so that we can invest in more households.
It's great. Okay, so at this time, we're going to open it up for questions. If anyone has a question, we would like to give you an opportunity to ask at this time.
How do we get people in need in line for this program? I looked on your website. It doesn't seem clear. And you talked about community partnerships, relationships. Are y'all working with and when? Who? How do we connect? Because we got people.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I think a disclaimer here is that we know we're always going to have more demand than the funding, and I think that's why we need to be demanding more funding from the city. I think that's just important to know. Right now, we have funding only for 160 people, and we typically do through the 10 community organizations that the city has chosen to be, partners for these. So at this time, we're gonna go with those 10 organizations, and we hope that we can continue expanding and opening it up to more organizations.
Yeah, because we know that we can't meet the need. That's why we also don't have an open application process. And we don't do a lottery either because we want to make sure we are reaching, families who need this money the most.
That's right.
Okay, next question.
Certainly. I'm Zenobia Joseph again, and I just wanted to ask Ms. Hasso specifically, can you share who these organizations are? I looked at item 31, which is on tomorrow's agenda for the $1,336,000. And there's nothing specifically showing the disaggregated data, and it doesn't actually state like the previous speaker, anything transparently. So I think if you're wanting support, it would actually be helpful to know not personally who the people are, but maybe by the disaggregated data, who received the funding and what organizations gave out how much. And I think you might garner support that way.
Yeah, no, thank you. So the reports with that disaggregated data are posted through the Urban Institute website, and I think you'll be able to kind of see the breakdown demographically and also geographically, and then how the money was spent. And then the 10 partners that we haven't publicly announced who the partners are for this round because the contract hasn't been finalized, but for the pilot, what we called the pilot program, those partners were GAVA, the Austin Area Urban League, the Austin Asian Community Health Initiative, a new entry, Kind Clinic, Saffron Trust, the Refugee Services of Texas, which doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately, Communities of Color United for Racial Justice, and Volunteer Legal Services of Central Texas.
And I would just ask that maybe you can hyperlink that to the backup materials, because unless a person was in the room today, it's just not transparent. And so the questions that you keep getting, even though it's an excellent program, may continue because we just don't see. It's just not transparent. But thank you.
We appreciate the feedback, and just I have a quick stat that you might appreciate in terms of demographic information for the previous pilot that the city funded. So 5% of the people were identify themselves as white, 30% Latinx, 38 Black, 35% Latinx, 11% Asian, and then 34% of them, they prefer the communication in a language other than English. And that's published through the evaluation that we did with the Urban Institute.
And I appreciate that. My last comment is just that the legal aid actually provides a conduit, if you will. They actually help clients to get that funding, but that is just not transparent. So anyone going through the eviction process wouldn't necessarily know that they could actually get volunteer legal services to actually help them connect the dots to get the funding through what was the guaranteed income program. So a little bit
Appreciate
more
the feedback.
transparency would just be helpful, as opposed to cherry picking the clients, because the
Totally.
need is really great. If you look at the rental assistance, 7,000 people applied, and there's just not enough funding. So thank you.
I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
So, since we don't have anyone else at the mic right now, Amanda, I would like to ask you, are there any other programs that participants might be eligible for that they can use in combination with this program?
Through the city, I'm not sure because I don't know all of the eligibility criteria through different programs. Like, we've run out of our rental assistance, and so I know our housing. I know some of y'all have heard from the housing department today too, but I do think it sounds like there are opportunities around community land trusts that might impact some of our housing stability. But in terms of getting access to things quickly, that's a really tough question for me to answer because I don't know of anything.
I think, so another thing to mention is through the Up Together approach, we do have a platform, an online platform that's called the Up Together Connect, and that's where people can get access to, or gets access to the cash, but also that's where people can just have access to different resources that are created by the same community. Anyone can join the Up Together Connect. If you get into the uptogether.org, you can see how to get access to it. And we don't facilitate any resources because we believe that the best people to provide those resources are the same community. So that's a space where community comes together and they are able to crowdsource very unique solutions that are catered to their needs. So you see people are creating groups, and the beauty of the platform is that connects people from across the country. So you see someone posing, a problem or asking for a resource, and then you get someone from maybe the same city, but maybe from a different city saying, hey, have you looked into this? Can I help you call? Can I help you with translation? And we see how communities coming together to create solutions. So that's a resource that anyone can access.
Right. So, Stephanie, on your journey, after you got in the program, you seem like you're very, very resourceful. So, were you able to connect with any other programs that were also beneficial?
Do you mean like through the pilot program or just any program?
Just through any program, just through either through the program or through your own research or going to social media?
So I've been really just sticking to myself because I'm new to Texas and I don't really know a lot about it. However, through the pilot program at Up Together, I was able to connect through a podcast. And then they also have a community for us, though, so that we can connect with each other. On the podcast, they have like different people come and they talk about money matters to us. They talk about how to save money, how to invest money. They talk about how to stretch our dollar, how to keep our money in the community, how to, do community projects. Sometimes we even meet up together so we can talk and discuss, different, ways to, elevate or even just like to vent. So, that's been a really good circle for me, the podcast with Up Together, because you could get on there, you can listen, it's already recorded. And then again, I work in communication, so I do spend a lot of time at home with my children. I have 4 children, so I haven't really been getting my hands into much. Up Together, they've been pretty good with assisting me and the resources to allow me to do a lot of the stuff that I do now with my children, the Thinkery. So I don't know if that counts at all, but I've been introduced to the Thinkery. I take my children to the Thinkery as well, and that's pretty cool. It's another resource if, families out here just looking to get out the sun or do stuff with their children for nothing, really. You just go there and it's like a museum for your children. But besides that, no, ma'am, I haven't really been into anything.
That sounds like you've been doing a lot. Okay, we have one more question here, and then we're going to close out.
Hi, I was really excited to hear about what was going on today here with this platform, and I kind of feel a little let down because every time I try to help my patients that need assistance, I'll be calling for them 10, 15, 20 agencies locally. And then I said, oh my God, there's an organization that can help me now. And you guys are already going to be helping people because you already got a list. So I got excited and now I feel like, oh, where do I go from here? Still nowhere. So it was just, I'm just a little confused at this moment because when I hear about organizations, they come out to talk about services, it's because services that they have available, not services that they already have planned out. So if anybody here knows of any agencies, please let me know, because I've got like 20 on my list, and usually everybody is always maxed out.
Yeah, we feel your pain very acutely. That's also why we don't have an open application process, because we don't want people to have to go through the trauma, really, of filling this out and applying for something and then being let down. So I do think this is where community advocacy has to really step in. You have council members, and I'm a city employee, so I'm, but these are our avenues right now as residents of the city, being able to kind of speak to council and kind of elevate that need, because even though we didn't have an open application the last time we did this program, we had phones ringing off the hook. We had people showing up at our office, and out of desperation, we know it's very, very dire out there, and it's very serious. And we don't have the funding allocated to programs like this at this moment.
And just one point of clarification. So the families haven't been selected. I think as soon as we can release the name of the organizations, there is an opportunity to engage with them. So that's a potential path. But I 100% get your point, and I think that's why we need to continue advocating so more funding becomes available so that we can actually have an open process. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much, and let's give Stephanie and the rest of the panel a big hand.